Here's one. I need y'all's opinion on this. You got to let me know in the chat what you think of this, okay? Because I'm really curious if if I'm somehow in the minority here, or am I not seeing something that everybody else is seeing with the Miz? But next up, we had the Intercontinental #1 contender Fatal 4-Way match. So the winner of this would get a championship match against Gunther at Survivor Series. The participants in this is Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Ivar, and The Miz. Now, The Miz has already kind of started a little something with Gunther a couple of weeks ago. I think that was the Miz TV that kind of got his babyface push rolling. So it felt like Miz was a very likely candidate to come out the winner in this thing. But has he done enough as a babyface in these 2 or 3 short weeks that would make the fans even want to see this match? I mean, Miz is getting some positive reactions from the crowd. So maybe it's just I don't trust a babyface run, because we've seen this a couple of times. They've gone to him as a babyface, once or twice in the past. We know he can kind of do it, and he can do it in short spurts, but really at the end of the day, the Miz is just best at being the Miz. Being in serious championship matches. I mean, this is Survivor Series. This is one of your big pay-per-views. This isn't just Raw or some in-between pay-per-view or something like that. This is Survivor Series, kind of a big one. Gunther, who has been so incredibly dominant. I mean, unbelievably dominant. Does anybody even think for a minute that Miz has a shot in hell of winning the Intercontinental title from Gunther? If Gunther loses his streak to this fucker, I'm going to shit a toaster. No, absolutely not. So I'm surprised that we're getting this match. But let's get to the finish first. I really liked it was a double moonsault tsunami spot. So I guess Ricochet and the Miz are on the ground or laying on the mat. Ivar goes up to one corner. Bronson Reed goes up to the other. Ivar does a moonsault, nailing Ricochet. And then Bronson, I think, misses his tsunami. And then Miz jumps on Bronson Reed. So you've got Ivar pinning Ricochet and Miz pinning Bronson Reed, both at the same time. Referee comes in 1, 2, and as he gets to 2, Ricochet gets his shoulder up, and then the referee counts 3, which means Miz pinned Bronson Reed, Ricochet kicked out. There was a little bit of confusion. It felt like it was executed the way it was supposed to be. But it felt also like there was a little bit of confusion after the match. I saw people on social media wondering if it was a mistake. And I'm like, no, I feel like that's the way it was supposed to go. Maybe the referees did get confused there or something like that, but they kind of had to go to a replay, think about it, and then announce Miz as the winner. But it was executed. I saw it right away. Michael Cole didn't notice it. What happened? Oh, he got his shoulder up. I'm like, I saw it. So it didn't feel like it was that controversial. But Miz wound up getting his hand raised there, and now he's going to go to Survivor Series to face Gunther. And like I said, who is thinking that Miz has a chance here? Because I don't know about y'all, I don't want him to be the one to take the belt off of Gunther. I would be pissed. The only thing I can think of is that, WWE's trying to establish Miz as a babyface, and maybe one way to do that, and there's a big if here, if Miz can even work or pull off this type of match, but maybe what they're going for here is to give Miz a surprisingly good outing against Gunther, where no fan is really thinking Miz has got a shot here, but we're going to watch the match anyway because we have to. And the next thing you know, everything seems to start going right for the Miz. He's just on point for some reason. But he's gonna have to come to play too. He can't just do his typical Miz shit. We saw him busting out some moves that we don't often see from him tonight. I think that needs to carry into Survivor Series, and if Miz can do it, I think he needs to try to make his match with Gunther the best in-ring match he's ever had. And if he can accomplish that, like I said, that's a big if, that's a lot of pressure. I wouldn't want to go into a match knowing that my legacy could very well hinge on me having a banger here. But if Miz wants to get that true respect, he needs to go out there and have one of those outings to where nobody's thinking he's going to beat Gunther, but he takes him to the fucking limit, man. Maybe even have a couple of really close near falls, or even Gunther shitting his pants a little bit. And then eventually, of course, Gunther will defeat the Miz. And then you do the big standing ovation after the loss bit that a lot of guys get, where after Miz loses, he kind of sits in the ring, and then all the fans in Chicago, maybe get to appreciate Miz in that respect. You know, Miz has always been praised for how he carries himself on the mic and how he can really get fired up sometimes when he wants to cut these, you know, type of promos about his longevity and what he's done and beating John Cena at Mania and that type of thing. But every time he busts that out or kind of goes in this direction, it's not that. It doesn't really tickle me all that special. It doesn't arouse me that much. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Miz is doing this thing that he does every couple of years. So I don't consider this anything special, but I do consider Gunther to be a special Intercontinental Champion. So I'm surprised that he didn't have a little bit more of a special challenger here. I would have put over Ivar. Eric's had fusion surgery. He's going to be out for a while. They're trying to establish him as a singles. So if you have him and Gunther just beat the shit out of each other at Survivor Series, that could be good. Obviously, Ivar won't win, but if he does the same thing that I'm talking about with The Miz, maybe take Gunther to the limit, that could establish Ivar as somebody that you're not going to mess around with. So maybe this is part of trying to really get Miz over as a babyface. Granted, he's hearing some cheers. He's getting a lot more praise on social media than I'm used to seeing him get. Because I've gone up and down with Miz. Years ago, I couldn't stand him. Then I gave him his flowers. There was a little time here on the channel, about 3 years, where I was pro Miz, even advocating for him to be champion again. I was like, we should give this guy another shot. It's been a long time since 2011. I think he's ready. I think it would be fun to see him carry the belt again. And then another 3 years went by and they actually gave it to him. So I've had periods where I've appreciated The Miz. I know and understand what he can do. I respect what he brings, you know, but I don't look at him as someone. Gunther and Miz is just not a match I want at Survivor Series. It's just not. It's not intriguing to me. And the only thing that's going to change my mind is if Miz has the performance of a lifetime against Gunther. And I think that's what he has to do. And if he does that, then I'll say, okay, now I see what they're doing. Now I understand maybe why they booked that match, is they want to try to give Miz a match to where he's going to earn the respect of the fans who maybe haven't respected his in-ring work in the past. I don't think Miz's in-ring work is anything special. You know, his work is very straightforward, you know, somewhat bland, somewhat safe. He's not that crazy. His value is his voice. His value is his presence, you know, and he just does enough in the ring to, you know, to be passable. But he's not terrible. You know, he can jump and move, and he understands what to do in a wrestling ring. But in terms of just athleticism and technique and smoothness, there's so many better. But that doesn't matter. You don't always need that. So not everybody needs to be Eddie Guerrero or Chris Benoit or Kurt Angle, you know, especially when you have the type of charisma that The Miz has. I mean, this guy's got reality shows. He's all over the place. He's been a really good PR guy for WWE, just somebody to send out there and do stuff and public appearances and all that stuff. He carries the torch. He carries the flag. He does it well. So if they want to reward him here with a big match, great, but don't put the Intercontinental title on him, man. Jesus.